Rashi brings in the beginning of this week's Parsha two specific things that brought Yisro to come to the Jewish people. It was both the splitting of the sea and the war with Amalek. And the commentators are bothered. Why wasn't it enough? Like the verse tells us, all of the things that happened in Egypt, the miracles, the plagues, the splitting of the sea, what was the contribution of Amalek that only then was he motivated to become part of the Jewish people? The commentators explain that in seeing this audacity of evil, a deviation from the norm, that after God revealed God's self and showed the protective power of inclusivity, that they would come to try to murder people, he felt there must also be the ability to deviate and have an audacity, deviate from the apathy and have an audacity of holiness, to be able to expand, to show up and answer that darkness with a call for light. Our rabbis tell us that the source of all spiritual impurity and darkness is that sense of apathy and hopelessness. The Ishbitzer writes, the person goes to a funeral, nobody's thinking about the resurrection of the dead, nobody's thinking about God's capacity to heal or bring people back. The person has given up hope. And it's because of that surrender of faith, of things changing, that provides that spiritual impurity of Tumas Meis that's the most intense of all spiritual impurity. So too is the capacity to be able to expand through faith, holiness, and purity. We find by the Chet Ego, by the sin of the golden calf, Rashi there brings that Moses appeared in some sort of image of being dead. And it was that sense of hopelessness that there was no change, there was no way in which things could evolve for the better, that they were able to sin. Because if we feel like there's nothing for us to do, then it doesn't make a difference. The invitation that exists in this world of darkness, from darkness, to be that light, parallels God's initial response to that darkness. When there was darkness, God said, "Let there be light." In this week's Parsha, we read how Yisro heard about the atrocities that were happening and stood up and showed up to be present, to be part of the solution. This week's Parsha invites us to be that light, to answer the darkness with purity, with holiness, and with an audacity to stand up to all of the things that we're seeing and naming the truth for what it is and being part of the solution. Have a wonderful week.